Today, the Justice Department arrested, booked, and arraigned Donald Trump. This is how Trump looked today, according to new court sketches we've just gotten into our newsroom. Since federal courts limit cameras, we are looking at the sketches. This is how we are seeing and learning about this very new breaking news event that spilled over the late afternoon. Donald Trump is the first former president ever indicted by the federal government that he once ran. This picture is the image that Donald Trump worked very hard to avoid people seeing. I'm going to leave it up on the screen and give you that context because he is a former president, he is a politician, he's a candidate for office right now, and this image and this moment is something that he has tried to crowd out, and I'll explain that. He has tried to flood the internet and the airwaves with his version of events and attacks and threats and his own views of the indictment, which at times we cover when they are newsworthy. Indeed, you probably learned about this from a Donald Trump leak because he leaked his own indictment news Thursday night. That's a gambit which continued today. Trump tried to create different press images, waving and showing his way and his route to the Miami courthouse, where he was forced to surrender and taken into custody. Today, there was also even a campaign-style stop. This was after the arraignment, and I mention this just for context. We're not playing a lot of sound from it, but the two images you see on your screen, again, are this competition. And this is going to play out as we follow what could be the trial of the century, because on the left, you have Donald Trump, the defendant, quiet, surrendering, out of control, listening to a judge to define his future, whether he'll have a passport, he will, whether he can talk to witnesses, he can't, and so on. On the right is a still image of Donald Trump's unusual but perfectly allowed campaign-style stop at a coffee shop known for political gatherings in Miami. Now, tonight we have a reporter who was on the left side of your screen, who was inside that courtroom, as well as our legal experts, and they're going to break down this historic arraignment. We saw Trump today with his lawyers. We know that this arraignment was fairly standard, ran about 47 minutes, Trump sitting quietly. Reporters who were inside the room, and like I said, Garrett's one of them, have said that he was basically expressionless or dour, often with his arms crossed. He did not speak. It was a Trump lawyer today who entered the words "not guilty" as Donald Trump's plea. Trump is accused of conspiracy, and his indicted co-defendant was booked as well. Walt Nauta, booked and seen there with Trump. This is this other sketch we have. That's Mr. Nauta, a lesser-known character, now the co-conspirator. He was also seen, I should mention, in the car with Trump as well as the courtroom, because he still works for Trump. Both men were also seen with Trump's legal team at one point. Here's a wider sketch of, again, the historic booking of a former president today. The judge oversaw this booking and allowed Trump to keep his passport for any travel, but barred Trump from discussing this case with witnesses like his co-defendant, Mr. Nauta. This is Donald Trump's second arraignment in just over 2 months. That is another unprecedented reality that you can see in this breaking news comparison tonight. Donald Trump there captured by a camera, so you have that image, inside a New York City courtroom for that arraignment, which was very historic at the time, a big deal. And then today's federal arraignment. And what you see on your screen, again, are the moments that Donald Trump doesn't want you to see. Both these cases involve a lot of alleged treachery, lies, obstruction, lying to your own lawyers, lying to the government, lying about business records on the right, lying about national security secrets on the left. And the more that these cases, they're speaking indictments, the courtroom proceedings, the evidence is amassed, the more that people may learn just why two different jurisdictions have now turned this one-time president into a defendant. He doesn't want you to see this. We know that, which is why he wants you to see him at coffee shops or read his social posts or read his defenses. But today, Donald Trump was again taken into custody, booked, and told of his rights, which includes the right of the presumption of innocence in our system. There's also a difference between these two cases. The difference, in short form, is named Jack Smith. He showed up in that courtroom today. He watched his team go through this arraignment from the front row. This is, again, a photo. I'll tell you what we're doing while we do it. This is a photograph because we didn't get from the court artist any sketches of Mr. Smith in the first row of the special counsel. I could tell you, though, today is the first known time that this prosecutor and this now defendant have been in the same room. Reports are that Donald Trump did not look over at Jack Smith, who has so upended his life, perhaps his campaign, perhaps his liberty, a single time during the 45 minutes he was required to be there. And so in those images, again, you see the reality, what in court might be called the evidence of the facts, which sometimes is crowded out by so much other noise, or the way that information and images and videos move around. Some of that is what Trump doesn't want you to see or anyone to see, and some of it is increasingly unavoidable.